screen. Is that working for everybody?
Yes, we can see that.
Great. All right, let me start these slides. All right, the snippets are coming in. And minimize this one. Cool. Hello everybody. Welcome to this talk. I'm going to be talking about the 3D animation for games and film program. My name is Sean Wade. I've been teaching on this program for a number of years. The course has gone through a number of iterations towards those ones. And I think we found, because of the response to industry, and it's constantly being updated and improved. But this current iteration is, its latest version, and I want to show you guys what we do. Okay, so let's go. Let's go on. So I'm going to be talking about the team, who we are, what we've been doing in the past, and what we're doing here. I'm going to give you guys a quick introduction to what we do on the 3D animation program. I'm going to show you guys some student work, talk about some student successes, try to do it briefly through each of the modules over the 3 years. I'm going to talk about the entry requirements briefly, but mostly focusing on the portfolio guidelines for applying. And then at the end, I'll do a questions and answers session. So, just jot down as many questions as you want, and then we can go through them at the end. All right, let's go on. So first things first, let's talk about the team. Our amazing program leader, Sam Summers, he is a lecturer in animation contextual studies. He's got a rich history in the contextual sides of studies, usually teaching, gathering references, building stories, ideation, history for both the animation program and the 3D animation for games and film program. So Sam is a busy guy that knows a lot of different things and someone to definitely pick his brain on certain topics. He knows a bit about he knows a bit about everything. Yeah, Sam's great. There's me. My name's Sean Wade, as I mentioned. I'm a technical tutor. I teach primarily games art and animation, 3D animation. I've held a number of technical creative jobs in the industry. Most recently art director at Game Art, which still has some involvement with that team. Why is this not being muted? Sorry. Yes, I've worked for the National Film and Television School. First, I started as an intern, then I became, a freelancer, and then I was working at Digital Shoguns as a 3D animator again, and then I moved and I did some work for Silent Bot Games for a number of years, and then finally I did some freelance stuff on the side. Then I became, a 3D artist at Game On, and eventually art director, and eventually I found my way back to Middlesex. So this is how my story went. There's a bit of backstory about what we do. But I teach primarily through all 3 years, game art and 3D animation. Jonathan, who was going to be with me today, but unfortunately he's gotten quite busy. He teaches on a lot of VFX workshops, technical workshops on virtual production, motion capture, cleaning up motion capture data, all the VFX heavy stuff, special effects as well. Johnny is again a mixed bag of VFX. Fortunately, he couldn't make it today, but he is here with us in spirit. Great guy. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to find some photos of John and Andrew. John is our technical tutor in production. Doing a lot of virtual production stuff, a lot of filmmaking. He teaches primarily the film side of stuff, cinematography, but also quite a lot of technical Unreal Engine effects and post-production stuff. Andrew Pomfrey is our technical tutor in art direction and production design. He can build sets, he can do props, he can teach you about how to actually get art direction from a narrative. Usually teaching, he also covers life drawing as well, which I'll touch on later on. Unfortunately, I didn't get photos of them in time. John's away and Andrew's always doing something. Let's move on. So a program overview. So I want to talk about the program very quickly. I will try not to go on for too long. But if you do notice anything that don't give them enough detail on, you can ask me questions on it at the end during the QA. I'm sure there'll be a few questions. So let's go. The student journey I wanted to start with, essential and core practices, professional studio skills, and finding your own pathway. There are two pathways on this program, the 3D animation and game art pathway and the visual effects pathways. The teaching is joint, however, your outcomes will be completely dependent on what you want to specialize in. And as I've mentioned, the reason why the team is structured in the way it is we've got specialists with industry experience in all areas. So there will be, a high amount of industry input from internal, from Middlesex, but also external. So wherever you want to specialize in, there will be support for it. And I'll talk about those specialisms now. So our students typically focus or specialize in these areas. So on the game art side and animation, 3D animation side, there's character artists, environment artists, riggers, technical riggers on that, doing simulations and such. There's character animation artists, character artists, people who want to focus on VR, AR, XR, mixed reality kind of outcomes. And on the VFX side, there are VFX artists, motion capture specialists and technicians. There are game developers, motion graphic artists, cross-platform digital artists, which is another quite big one, and then virtual production technicians as well. This is just a few of many specialisms that we've had coming out of our program, but this is typically what our portfolio of students look like. But we've got stuff that cover all of these areas and more. As mentioned, there's art direction and there's obviously concept art as well. But these are the areas that we tend to focus on, given the base of our students. Industry alignment, I want to talk about how we try to and we align ourselves with industry as much as possible, because we have industry teaching and we have quite a few industry connections which inform us on how to best navigate and to direct this program. Our list of specialisms is updated based on industry requirements and trends, as well as technical developments. Students are introduced to all of these during the first 2 years, and in the third year, by the third year, the latest, they've started their specialism. So usually around mid-second year or early third year, specialism has begun. Real-world projects in small creative teams. We base all of our projects on real-world scenarios and real-world briefs. That way, students learn how to collaborate in a studio environment. It's not a typical classroom environment. We treat our students as they are interns and juniors in the studio, and we all work on live briefs. So we are working on a project with the students as juniors, learning while they're doing the job. Tutors are there to challenge, to guide, and to mentor you. So it's quite it really emulates a real studio as far as the facilities, the teaching, and our approach. Principles of learning and teaching. There's some work from Javier, one of our students. We like to manage our workloads that facilitates continuation and progression. So we build on our learning and work towards an outcome. Iterative and engaging group teaching. So we tend to build things in iterations. So we've got our first pass, our second pass, and we do things as we would in industry. The curriculum is designed with industry partners. Myself coming from Game Art, but also externally, we've got quite a few industry studios working with us to best build the curricula. That way, when you guys leave, you are ready for industry because you've been working as you would in industry. Assessments that relate to real-world scenarios, like I mentioned just a moment ago. What you're being assessed on is your iterative workflow and how you've adapted to the way things work in the industry. So the curricula is based around that. But we'll talk about that in a moment. We talk about the modules in a bit more detail. But before we do that, I want to talk about the facilities and the location of where we are based. We are based in Northwest London. It's very easy to commute to get to here. You can access it through the London Underground, trains, and the buses. There's many buses that come here, and it's 20 minutes away from central London, so it's quite easy to navigate here. And it's just a bit of greenery in the middle of London, which is great to see. That's probably why my allergies are acting up so much today, to be honest. State-of-the-art facilities, fully equipped studios. I mean, we've got the highest end PCs you can expect, dual monitor workstations, Cintiqs. We got basically most of the technology you can imagine as far as the VR stuff is concerned. Green screens and motion capture studios. This is just a few weeks ago, actually. We did a project in there. 3D printing, scanning labs. So, that's another thing that we do, 3D printing downstairs. A lot of our stuff we create can be printed. So that's something we're quite closely tied to. We've got a whole suite of 3D printers ranging from resin, powder, and a range of other plastic materials, and wood cutting and such. So there's that. We have a live drawing studio, which is quite large, as well as models down there. I'll talk about that again in a minute. Audio and video editing suites and recording studio. These are, extensive, to say the least. We have a full suite of audio video editing suites. And I think this is, again, to say that we collaborate across programs as well. So you have access to all these tools and professionals using them, and technicians as well. Intensive software training. So throughout the program, we train on a range of programs. I've listed the majority of them that we are using specifically for the curricula. However, the students have access to hundreds, and it would be impossible for me to go through all of them. Packages and digital media workshops outside of just our teaching spaces. The live drawing suite, but also we have a Mac lab for video editing. We have an audio and audio recording suite, so we have access to all those tools and the professionals and technicians that run them. So, but on the program, this is primarily what we are looking at using. So you'll be trained in these tools. Now we can talk a bit more about the modules. I hope I don't go on for too long about these, but they are quite exciting, I suppose. So a quick overview, so kind of understand the big picture of things. Year one is focused on gaining a foundation, so 3D fundamentals, pipeline, workflow, and learning to collaborate as you would in a studio, which is kind of what we need to have as our foundations to do the second year, which is where we start developing a lot more of our technical skills, and to start building on our specialisms and figuring out what it is that we want to do in our industry and how we can contribute to our teams and our groups. This is when we start to introduce a lot more specialist technical workshops. And in year three, professional practice, which is, in my opinion, one of the most fun years, is choosing your pathway, collaborating on the major projects and industry projects, but also building a portfolio. And I'll talk about that in just a moment, which is really exciting, actually. I love this one. So year one, I mentioned, it's built around building your the fundamentals of 3D animation and really just the CG pipelines for games and films. This is where you learn to develop your skills through a range of personal and group projects. So you have 4 modules per year. Obviously, it's 3 years. In your first year, you have animation production, which is aimed at building a skill set in animation production. Both some hand-drawn stuff, but mostly learning, animation, 3D animation techniques, the principles, and some applicational usage, some more technical stuff as far as, building a good animation for portfolio, building an animation for games, loops, for example, motion capture, cleaning up data and such. So there is quite a few technical workshops in there, but this is to build a foundation. Creation and ideation is where you start to learn a little bit about art direction, gathering references that are well annotated. There's some research trips where we take some photos, we analyze them, we break them down, and learn to create interesting, unique concepts, giving the ideation stages, which is where you build your story splines, your narrative, and all the other elements that come into building a story. Techniques and practices. This module is focused on strictly building on your technical skills. We've dedicated techniques and practices 1 and 2 to just developing your technical skills, and this ranges from 3D modeling, texturing, rigging. It ranges across the whole board of CG production, but this is to support the animation and the work that you'll be doing in year 2. So it's quite, those two modules are quite varied in their delivery, but you can expect a very strong foundation across the CT pipeline. That way you'll be more comfortable with year 2, which is very exciting as well. So this is where you really begin to level up your skills and start to get comfortable with what you're doing. This module focuses on engaging in a production. So now we're starting to bring in productions, and we're starting to understand how to work in a collaborative manner, utilizing industry standard workflows and techniques to not only collaborate, but to manage your files a bit better. So now we're talking about file management, source control a little bit, not too much. But throughout the year, it will ramp up quite a bit. So you have the 4 modules again. Asset creation, you'll be learning a range of industry standard techniques and tools for environments and props. You'll be building an environment with a range of action props, which will be rigged and animated. Character building animation, you'll be building a 3D character model. Again, using a range of tools and techniques. This is going to be a production-ready character, just like your environment. So you've built an environment, props, character. The character has been rigged and animated. So you've been through quite a bit of the asset creation stuff at this point. Then you'll be working on a cinematic. So you're working to bring all of those elements together to build a cinematic for it. It could be a game cutscene. It could be a film, an animation, blending, virtual production, or cinematography. All kind of elements come into this module. And world building is where you start to build worlds. It's a bit of a step up from ideation. This time you're actually building a world. So think of you're building the narrative, you've got your story spline, you're doing storyboards, building animatics and things of that nature, which is going to build you for the 3rd year, which is very exciting. The 3rd year is quite heavy. This side is quite text heavy, but I won't read through the whole thing. I will just paraphrase, and you can read back or ask some questions if I skip proper things too quickly. In this year, you are already looking at professional standard work. You've gone through the pipeline and produced outcomes which are portfolio ready, but now it's time to develop your industry ready portfolio, ready for when you leave Middlesex, entering the job force. You'll be ready with a collection of assets. So we have the major project pre-production, where you start to build the foundations of your major project, and you could be looking at an independent work or a group work or some work you've done for a collaborator outside of the program. And you'll be building up again the narrative, the story, concepts. Research and design is quite a heavy element of this part too. You'll be doing a range of technical tests with a lot of technical support teaching on the side. Sorry, my allergies. Practice and research is the next module, in which you'll be doing quite a bit of deep dive research into your specialism and learning the deeper knowledge into certain topics. So for example, bent normals, for example, you do a short glossary entry on that, and you'll do a practical artifact. So you'll be building practice-based research. So as you're researching, there's no theory in this. It's just you go out and you do a practical and you learn about specific technical things relevant to what you want to specialize in. So you leave this module with a deep knowledge and understanding of your specialism. And this module really gives you confidence in what you're doing, with the amount of technical support that we give on this module is quite extensive. And then there's the major project production. This is when you start to build and produce on what you had done in the production module. So it's kind of following up from that, and you're looking at building a film, a game, an animatic, whatever it is that you want out of this and you want to specialize in. You'll form groups and you will build, or collaborators from external, to build on that major project and end up with, I mean, so far, fantastic outcomes. And I'll show you some of those in just a second. And then portfolio enhancement, which is a fantastic module, not just because I teach on it, but because it is amazing. You are building a portfolio of what you want to specialize in. So it could be character art. You build a professional standard character art portfolio. You will build a CV. You will prepare for art tests. You will, have interviews, skills, sessions, and this is the module that will prepare you for leaving and entering the industry the most, I feel. And there's a lot of useful skills knowledge workshops that we have in this module. So I kind of glossed over these quite a bit, but there's a lot more content in there. But of course, you can ask questions at the end if you have any specific questions you want to query about. This is the latest iteration of this program, but it's constantly being updated and improved as far as the teaching and the material that we deliver. So in addition to those 4 modules that you'll be doing each year, you have weekly live drawing sessions, which is a way to incorporate your abilities into your workflows. But I stress that being able to draw is not a strict requirement for the program. It's something that we develop, and we use it more of a communication tool rather than an outcome tool, unless you want to be a concept artist, and then we will develop those skills to a professional extent. Okay, so weekly classes, like I mentioned, we have weekly lecturing sessions. Sometimes it's joined with other programs. It's more of a drop-in kind of thing. But we've got a lecturing studio with professionals teaching lecturing. But we like to use it as a way to build observational skills, understanding of visual storytelling, and getting insight into visual communication. And I'll touch on that in just a second. You just pay attention to this image and see how this gets broken down a little bit. You see how those shapes start to form. And this is how we try to use it. We observe 3D form in 3D space, transferring visual information from 3D into 2D and vice versa, really. But it's really about the principles of visual communications. And that's something that I want to stress. It's not about being able to draw necessarily for all of you. It will just be about being able to communicate. Again, it's a drop-in kind of thing. You just drop into the sessions when you want to. But if charcoal or pencil is not your taking, or paint, you could use a range of 3D media materials. Like we've got some students using ZBrush, which is a digital sculpting program that we use quite extensively, sculpting our life drawing models. Or you can use clay, for example. We've got a range of media that we encourage students to use. So it's not all about pencil, but it is always encouraged to have a sketchbook. So again, visual communications. So usually concepts start like this, very rough and just gesture drawing, and then they're able to be transferred and transformed in something that can be used as a concept or some kind of graphic. So that's something that we do as well. We look at building concept art, be it splash art, which is what you see on a poster, or is it? We also build model sheets, which is going to be what we're going to use directly to model from. And from those, we build a character. And that's how our workflow typically works. And we also use those same drawing techniques when we are working in our 3D programs. So it's good to develop those lecturing sessions. So there is the module teaching, and then there's also lecturing, which is going to just really enrich the rest of the program for you. It's just nice add-on. So let's look at some student work, because I've been talking quite a bit, and let's have a look at this. Video plays. Oh, why is it starting?
Sorry, Sean, is this supposed to be a no sound video or there
Yeah,
is
I think the
sound?
sound's been disabled. I'm not too sure. On the upload on YouTube, there's no sound on it. I don't know why.
Okay,
There's
that's
just
fine.
music playing in the background. Sorry.
Okay, no problem.
A lot of this work is a lot of R&D stuff, things that are being developed. So that's just part of the show reel that I wanted to show you guys. And I'll show you some more complete work in a moment. So this is something from Ariel, again, building sketches and concepts, a bit of art direction here. Building some sculpts, digital painting, 3D digital painting. Ariana is a environment artist now, so she was wanting to build a portfolio piece, so we decided we'll do a diorama. That's her outcome for that one. Javier wanted to do character art, so we built a character and we had that character implemented into Unreal Engine as a game character. And we also had that as a 3D print using the facilities downstairs. So that's a 3D model, and you've got your print as well. Again, some more character art from Vian. Stuff we did last year. Here are some of our industry game art pathways. This is where our students typically end up in these studios. We've got a bunch more. Just try to splash a few of them at you. I'll talk about these in actually a moment, actually. This is our game art pathways where our students end up, and here are our visual effects pathways where our students typically end up as well. So there's a few more, but I think I'll get to those if I have them on the slide. Cool. Let's talk about some student successes, what our students are up to these days. Okay, so Andrew took part in the Grads and Games competition in 2022 with his first character model, because the first character model he actually had ever done. In fact, his first full 3D model. But through the character art workshops that I did, he really, applied himself, and he was able to get second place in that competition. And in the following year, where his passion started to really take off, he was able to win first place. So back to back with Andrew, fantastic. And since graduating, it's almost 2 years now. Since graduating 2 years ago, Andrew's held numerous roles. So when he left, immediately he started in June, was it? Yeah, he started he worked at Free Radical as a character artist. And most recently, he's been working at Soul Assembly and Expression Games. So he's already been the 3 studios. Kind of picks where he wants to be at this point, because he's quite good at what he does. But he got all of those skills in the last 3 or 4 years of just very hard work and dedication, and he really applied himself to the industry and the industry standard workflows and practices. So brilliant student. Alexandra Kaisen, similar story to Andrew. She had come into the program without any background in 3D or really much digital paintings, just a sketchbook, really. She took part in the robot challenge in her second year studies, was able to secure the draft pick badge. In the same year, immediately afterwards, after her spark or enthusiasm had peaked, she was able to get the second place award at the Grads and Games competition for the environment art category. And in the following year, she was able to get the Ones to Watch award, which enabled her to gain access to a lot of industry contacts. And again, she's in quite a nice position where she's able to pick and choose, the clients that she works for. Currently London-based artist again. Fantastic work from Alexandra. This is another piece that we did through the this is her entry for the Grads and Games environment art, where she was awarded one of the One to Watch awards through a lot of the environment art workshops we had done. Yeah, it's consistently improving with Alexandra. Great work. And I didn't have much time to go through all of the awards, but this is just from the last 2 years on the program. I've got a few more, just didn't want to do another slide, but we tend to do quite well as far as our awards and such are concerned. I won't boast about those. Now let's talk about the student experience and what it's like to study at Middlesex very quickly. A journey of active practical learning. with support from and guidance from industry professionals and practitioners. We all have a leg in the industry and a leg in what we're doing here. So it's always industry standard with us. As far as the briefs, the curricular and teaching method, I call it a method because it is really just a studio where you are juniors and you're learning practice-based research. You're learning as you are practicing this kind of research. Opportunity to develop your own personal toolkit for your specialist area with professional input in that specific area. We've got, like I mentioned, the staff in the beginning, we've got staff ranging from all areas. Unlock your own unique resource and creative potential through the art direction stuff that we do in narrative building. Discover your own distinctive creative voice, again, building on that narrative. Build a portfolio of professional standard original work, which is something I can't press enough. We have so much original, interesting work. Define your own professional identity, again, building that portfolio, which really tells the audience what it is that you do and what you want to do. This all will give you a unique portfolio and an insight into the industry that others would struggle with. Again, so we've been doing quite well as we've got a small community, I would say, as far as the 3D animation side of things is concerned. This is just from we were doing very well in these competitions, and so they wanted to work with us. So they calmed down and did some talks from the industry. They came in and did some talks, some reviews of our portfolios, and really just give the students an opportunity for networking with industry, which is great. Something that we try to do as much as we can. So yeah, it's now we have industry coming and competitions coming to us, which is great. It's not the other way around. But yeah, I want to stress that we have a unique community where we celebrate each other's achievements and we are always supporting each other and collaborating with each other. Like, for example, I was telling you about the green screen session we had a few weeks ago. Second year, I wanted to do a project, and then it ended up being everybody was involved and assisting and really making the most out of the opportunity. We've got third years, myself, other technicians from other programs like fashion got involved as well at some point. It became a massive thing, which is great to see. But we always just try to keep our community positive and helping each other. And we've got quite a diverse pool of students, so they're all quite interesting and unique in what they want to do. But yeah, very happy. So now let's start talking about portfolio guidelines, what it is that we'd like to see when you apply. But just keep in mind that this is not a strict criteria. It is just what we might ask you to present when you do apply for review. Your portfolio should contain some evidence of life drawing and observational drawings. I know not everybody has access to a life model, which is fine, but drawing in general, and we'll be able to tell if you've developed certain skills, or do we need to teach those skills. Original concepts and character designs, a chance to show your creativity. Sketchbooks is what we love to see. A lot of sketching, building on visuals and ideas, colors, how you work with palettes, for example. Development of ideas, mostly iterative workflow, building on ideas, different versions of things that you might have ideas for. Animation would be really great to see. If you have 2D, 3D, could be digital, it could even be analog. Anything to show you understand how pictures move, really. So if you've got like stop motion, or even if experimentational kind of things, that'd be great too. Or even some 3D modeling. But these are not strict guidelines, they are just what we would like to see. Just to stress that. But what if you can't draw? Now I'm going to mention this a few times, but drawing is not everything. It's just something that we do encourage to keep a sketchbook. It's not all about proficiency, it's more about creativity and communication, I would say. If you've got a portfolio or a collection of 3D modeling, could be basic, intermediate, or even advanced, really. Whatever level you've got some evidence of 3D modeling, that's always great to see. Even video editing is great to see. So if you don't have 3D modeling, video editing is great. Or if you've done work with the game engines, Unreal, Unity, Godot. If you're more on the technical side, it doesn't mean you can't do the art stuff too. We build films, games, animations, So there's a space for you as far as that's concerned. Though in general computer skills, you've done some visual scripting or some node-based stuff or some Python stuff. We do support a lot of that stuff over here. So if you do have a background in that and you want to do more of the creative art stuff, or you want to continue developing those specific skills, you can be trained. So there's an outcome for everybody. And I think that's the end of the presentation. So I can do some questions now if you have any.
Okay, while we're waiting for other people's questions, so I've been collecting some of the questions before we start this webinar. So the first question is, okay, can you please advise any, let's say, specific key points that the student should choose Middlesex University?
Right. So I think what sets Middlesex apart from any other institution is our close ties to industry and our focus on preparing our students for industry. And how we do that is by treating them as juniors through a studio environment. So they gain confidence and a technical base for what they want to specialize in once they leave here, are ready for industry. They've got a portfolio, they've got projects, they've got the technical skills, and they've also built what we stress is the ability to network and to meet people. And by the time they leave here, they've got a base for their network. They know how to build that network, and they know how to navigate our industry, which is something that it's not just about technical teaching or academic teaching. This goes beyond that as far as building a CV, having it reviewed by industry, having your portfolio or your showreel reviewed by industry. I think that's what sets us apart and why Middlesex is so interesting in that way.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot. So we have one questions from Azara. And the question is, may I know if AI will be integrated in the course modules, maybe in the future? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So as far as AI is concerned, how we've looked at it, we've responded the same way industry has responded, because I mean we teach industry standard. What we are using AI for is strictly ideation. So when we start building ideas, how do we build an idea for something that we don't have? For example, color palettes or something like that. Okay, what kind of color palettes would be applied to my concept? So if I draw a concept, I can use AI to quickly swap the colors around to get an idea of how it would look, and then we would build on that and we would do our own refined version based on that iteration. So we're using it as part of an iterative step during the ideation phases of production. But again, if industry responds to AI, or there is something that develops, we will be the first to implement it, because we have one foot in the industry and one foot in our teaching. So we respond quite swiftly with the advancements of technology. However, we still stress the importance of being able to develop those skills for your portfolio. So you'll be assessed strictly on your own contributions to a project, if that answers the question.
Okay, that's a very good question, actually.
Yeah, it's a very good one.
Nowadays, all the industries, we are having this kind of like new thoughts from the AI.
It's very important to respond to the industry, because that's what we are preparing the students for, and that's what we put emphasis on. So of course AI is quite divisive, with some people are for and some people are against, but it's not for us to be picking sides. It's just for us to be ready for and to understand the usage and how it might be implemented, and to at least accommodate that in, because it will do no good for us to ignore.
Yes. Yes, that's a very good answer. Yeah. And so also another question from the audience, how many students got full-time job after graduation?
It's a really hard one to tell because they're always moving about and trying to chase them down. But the stats are actually on the website. On the if you go to the 3D for games and films course page, I think they are still published there. Um, from last year, from what I've known, from what I can tell, it's usually within a year. I think it's 60 something%, and then the next year it jumps up again because the students start building or continue to build a portfolio, and some of them don't seek work immediately, whereas some of them do other kinds of work. So that counts again. But the stats are all on the website. I have to double check for you. Sorry, I don't have them off the
Okay,
top of
no
my head.
problem at all. Yeah, great. So we have another two questions on the screen. So one is just wondering if there is any prerequisite subject to apply to this course.
Oh, so I should have mentioned, sorry, my bad. We have a foundation program if you need to build up those computer learning skills and creative skills. We have a foundation program which you'll take, which is with animation and such. But if it's just, if the question is mostly considering, oh, I maybe potentially don't have a portfolio of stuff or and ready to apply for, then I would say get a sketchbook and just build that sketchbook. But if you feel you're lacking the skills to take the program, we have a foundation course.
Yes, all right. So yeah, basically we for our standard requirement for this course, we ask for a satisfactory portfolio as well as a public examination scores. So I'll be also sharing this part later. So okay, we have one question from Farah, our colleague. Farah, do you want to speak this, or you want me to read this for you?
Hi, Sean. Okay, I just
Hey.
want to know what's the difference between your program, as we also have two other different game-related program, which is game. I'm not sure whether you're familiar with the games design and development and the game and level design.
Yep,
So what's
yep.
are the different? Because sometimes I met students and they say like, so you have 3 games programs. So which one should I choose for?
Right. So
Thanks.
game design, yeah, there's three. I know it's quite, I also in the beginning I was like, why do we have 3 game programs? But they are very distinct and very different. I think game design focuses on more of the game building, like the coding, scripting, visual scripting, and narrative stuff. And game level design is when they start to build, you know, the levels of the games themselves. So they're 2 different programs, which are those 2 are more sister courses, which are more closely relevant to game development and just not so much on the art side, more of the narrative and the scripting side. So building the prototypes for games. We actually work quite closely with them. So we would provide sometimes animations, character models, environments. In fact, we used to do a collaboration, and I think we're looking to do this, we'll start running it again if students have an interest during their practice-based research module when they're building their practicals. It's a collaboration where we would build all of the art assets and we'll collaborate with game designers who will do the narrative and the scripting for the game, and together we will build the game. We are more loosely focused on character art, environments, the artwork. We do cinematic stuff, so animations, and but whereas they are mostly focused on scripting and the building of the code for the game.
All right, cool. Thanks.
Yeah. It's a hard one to distinguish, but they are very different. Yeah, we are focused on production of assets and creation of the visual side, whereas they are usually building the stuff under the hood. So the scripting, the mechanics of the game, sometimes also the story and the narrative as well.
Right. All right. Thank you.
Sorry.
Okay, so yeah, I do have one question regarding the 2 pathway in the 3rd year that you mentioned. So can you please give us a little bit like key points or few keywords about how do one student to decide what kind of pathway that they are developed to, And also, is it decided by them or suggested by the PL or the teachers as well?
Okay, yeah, absolutely. That's a very good question. I should have really had a slide to kind of differ a little bit because the teaching is joint for the entire program, and you do get technical support from specialists in the field that you want to specialize in. So you are kind of creating your own pathway through so you design your own pathway through your learning. With that said, if we do notice and specific skills that you are either developing and you are interested in doing, we do advise, why don't you try a bit of this? Have you tried that? And if it's something that sticks, then usually students would gravitate towards that area. But it's entirely student based. So if a student wants to focus on something that they are interested in, we fully support them. We just advise them as far as the guided studies as far as what we would suggest they look into as far as the specialist areas are concerned. The pathways are different in that when we do our practice, so when the year starts, actually, what I'll do, I'll just go to that slide quickly and show you just what I mean by this, because it might be a bit better to show it on my screen. So in the third year, sorry, it's full screen. In your third year, you're building a major project throughout the year. This runs throughout the entire year. In the pre-production module, by this point, you are identifying, or you should have maybe midway through second year, latest the third year, students have identified their specialist area, and you will form groups on a collaborative project. It could be on an individual project too, but it could also be a collaboration between game design. We did one with fashion this year, which is amazing for the fashion show. We did a show with the fashion students, which was great. But you could be collaborating with anybody really. You form groups and you're basically active in your specialist role, and we do support workshops to support you in that role. But again, this bleeds into the production module. But at the same time, while you're doing these two modules throughout the year, you're doing the practice and research role, where you're going out. And so in the first time, you're doing a practice and research module alongside the pre-production module, and you are doing research on outcomes. So if you're going to be a character artist, you're going to build a character, and you're just going to document and research into specific workflows. For example, advanced materials, skin shaders, for example, is one that that I did a workshop on early in the year. So if you're a character artist, I'll do a workshop on that, and you build a character and a collection of research based around in-depth knowledge in your specialist area, and that's fully supported. And in your portfolio enhancement module, this is where you're going to be able to, continue building that portfolio and have professional outcomes, CV catered to your specialist outcome, have your CV looked at by industry professionals and reviewed, preparing yourself for the kind of art tests or workflows, these pipeline tools that you would encounter in your specific specialist role. So that's fully supported in the portfolio enhancement module. So throughout the third year, even though the teaching is joined and you're all doing the same module, each of you who are doing different specialist areas will be taking a different pathway, which you design, you decide what you want to do, and we will guide you with, obviously support and suggestions as far as different areas. Like, for example, we have a student, Ava, who who was doing environment art, and we realized that she was quite proficient at doing a lot of visual scripting. So I taught her some procedural content generation, which is just a way to modularly make environments and houses and buildings and such. And she really enjoyed it. And now she's working as a technical artist, which stemmed from the environment art background and those workshops. So we can advise you and support you, but only if you are interested in the area. We won't, design the program around, specific things that we want you to do. It's more about making sure you're ready and you're professional in what you want to do.
Okay, that's very good, Sean. So I think that is also one of the very attracting points for us, for Middlesex University, that we are really applying to this small size classroom, so that we make sure that all the students will be guided properly and timely.
Absolutely.
during the process of the preparing for the final project or doing any pathway choices. Okay, that's very, very nice. Okay, thank you so much for the all the answers. So like basically Sean has helped to cover a lot of like many range of the and many aspects of this program. So I will be spending another 5 minutes to give a little bit basic information about Middlesex University, because today we have our agents and partners and maybe our future potential students, so that I want you to have also a roughly ideas about Middlesex University. So here I'm gonna share my screen here. So yes, thank you so much. So I'll be sharing. Here. So I hope that you can see my PowerPoint here. Okay, just a very brief introduction about myself. My name is Betty, and like we have our colleagues coming from the Asia Pacific Regional Hub. They're based in Kuala Lumpur office, Hong Kong office, and Shenzhen office as well. So we are kind of like supporting students coming from this whole region, the East Asia and Southeast Asia. So as Sean mentioned that Middlesex University, so we are in London. So this is very important. We are in London. We are not near London, okay? So this is easier and more convenient for you to connect to the resource and the opportunities in the center of the city. So we are here in Hendon Central, and it takes like only 20 to 30 minutes to access to the center of the London. Very, very convenient. And this is our campus, a very beautiful one, you can see. And our nearest accommodation hall is the Usher Hall on the right hand. So it only takes like 5 minutes walking distance. You can go back to the classroom, or you can go back to what you are doing. So actually, Middlesex University, we have been here in Northern London in this part, and we have been teaching for over 140 years. And we are the top 5 modern university in the UK. So for us, we have like a quarter of the students coming from international background. And Middlesex University, we have been devoted to build a best equipped campus and well-prepared facilities for all the students. And we also provide free printing and photocopy, and we have free laptop loan, and we have our one-stop student support. So whenever you wanted to have any like support, like the equipment support or the academic support, you can find our staff to help you. And actually, Middlesex University, we are the first UK universities to provide each student a free e-textbooks. So like you don't need to worry about other fees or charges after you complete your tuition fee. So, and we do provide accommodations, and for all the international students, the first year arrival will be guaranteed. So you will 100% get a room for you, and the charges ranges from 800 to 1,000 per month. So all the bills are included in the cost already. So you can see, like, depends on what type of rooms or halls you wanted to stay in. And then we have different faculties. We have art and creative industry, business law, health, social care, education, science, and technology. And our tuition fee for the bachelor degree, the 3 years, or the integrated foundation year, which in total 4 years, like we charge is the same, is £16,600. I would say this price in London is very, very reasonable compared to many other UK universities. Okay, so our entry requirement for the 3D animation for games and films for year 1 entry, our standard requirement is UCAS points, 112 points, but feel free to send us your transcript if you are unsure about if you will be accepted before you apply. We will be helped to check your qualifications by them, and then the portfolio will be required. And we also accept a range of the different qualifications, including the A-level, foundation year in other international programs, BTech, IB diploma, Hong Kong DSE as well. So, and also this course, we also provide a foundation year as mentioned by Sean, but also the portfolio will be required, and the academic qualifications will be a little bit lower. So my suggestion is that if you are unsure about if you will be accepted by the foundation or accepted by the year one, you can go to apply the year one first. So if we checked your qualifications and we say maybe it's better for you to have an extra year, so we'll be advise you to switch to the one with foundation year as well. So don't worry about this part. Okay, so and also we accept the advanced entry for those of you who are already studying in other universities or who feels like to get a UK bachelor degree. We also accept the credits transfer. So we just need to check with your prerequisite subjects or the credits that you already have. So we will be helping to advise you to the level of the entry as well as the different programs. Okay, so like for all the UG degree, we ask for IELTS overall 6.0 and each component 5.5. And we also accept the GCSE, and IB. And for those Hong Kong students, we accept the Hong Kong DSE English level 3. Okay, so just one notes or reminder here, please take the IELTS for UKVI, just in case you need to study the pre-sessional English course. Okay, and also we have a full list of recognized English tests here. Feel free to check and on our website as well. And for those of you who doesn't have any English scores at this moment, we also provide the free English test. So you just all you need to do is to apply first and then get a conditional offer letter. So if you are outstanding with the English qualification, our team will be contact you and we will tell you like how to proceed to the next step. So don't worry about this as well. Okay, so for our professional course, we have different lengths and duration of the course from 6 weeks to 30 weeks. And now I think it's a little late for the first two, but if you still like need to take any professional course, we still have 9 weeks and 6 weeks for you. And we accept a direct application. So for this course, don't need to apply through the UCAS because our regional office, we can also view the applications and we will send the application and portfolio to our tutors and our program leaders for them for the further decision. So all you need is the application form, transcript, and English scores. Again, if you don't have any English scores, that's fine as well. Personal statement, reference letter, and portfolio. Don't forget about this part. Very important. Okay. So, and also we have been running with this kind of series of webinar from May. And next week, Thursday, will be our last webinar. So we are very happy to have Sean to share this 3D animation with us for games and films with us. So we also hope that we can receive some inquiries and even some new applications soon. And so that we will have the further discussion with what we will have later. Okay. So all right, thank you very much, Sean. Thank you very much, Anna, for helping with this webinar. So I hope to see you and catch up with you soon. And Anna, I see you next week. Okay.
Great. Thanks, Betsy. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
You have a nice day,
Again.
everyone.
Done.
Okay.
Likewise.
Amazing.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Yes.
Bye.